Welcome to part 3 of our vaping segment. So this section we're going to talk about what now. Now that we have all this information about what the vaping products look like, what the harms are, what do we do? Because despite all these harms that we discussed, teens are still choosing to vape. Although the normal human instinct is to protect yourself from negative impacts, students are still gravitating towards this. Although there's still a question of how much damage vaping will do, there isn't a question about the fact that it will harm the user. We really need to be thinking about what is it that's driving students to vape. Students are more likely to use if they're experiencing some of these following issues. What we're finding for a lot of students is that they're using vaping as a form of self-medication. So they're using it as a coping tool. So life transitions, school pressure, we know that in our society today, especially in the Tri-Valley, this is huge. A family history of addiction, low self-esteem, poor impulse control, mental health issues. A lot of our students that have anxiety have shared that this is a way that they cope. Peer pressure, lack of family involvement, not understanding the risks involved, so lacking education on the harms of vaping. The availability, it's very easily accessible. Students that are disengaged in school and community, and then a lack of boundaries at home. The good news is that there's also a lot of protective factors. So these are some things that protect students from using and make them less likely to use. So knowledge about risks associated with use, family involvement, positive adult relationships, self-confidence, plans for the future, engagement with school and community, family stability, emotional self-regulation, healthy peer groups, and family that provides structure, rules, and monitoring. This is key. We need to be really clear with our students that vaping is not something that is allowed in our homes and that we have specific consequences related to this if we find that it's an issue. These are some ways to tell if your child is vaping. So rage is a big one. We see a lot of students' behavior changing once they start vaping. They're more easily angered, and the nicotine truly does impact their brain. Nosebleeds, when someone vapes, they're inhaling through their nose, and this causes the inside to become dry, and it triggers nosebleeds. Bloody sores, the chemicals in the vapors are disrupting your immune system, which can have a harsh effect on human cells. So if your student has unexplained sores or develops a cough, these can be signs they might be vaping. Increased thirst, so the major ingredient in e-juice is propylene glycol, and that's something that attracts and holds water molecules from its environment. So this can include the mouth and lead to dry mouth, which is only eased with large amounts of liquid. Smoker's cough is another thing. We talked about how it impacts your lungs. Sensitivity to caffeine. So a lot of students who are using vape pens on a regular basis actually develop a sensitivity to caffeine. So if your teen is suddenly passing on Red Bulls or coffee drinks that they used to consume frequently, it could be an indication that they're using something else to get a buzz. And then an unexplained sweet smell. So the e-juice is often a sweet flavor that's modeled after a candy or dessert. So sometimes if you walk into a room and you just smell something sweet and your student has just been in there by themselves, that could be an indicator that they were vaping. So what now? We've given you a lot of information, and it can be overwhelming to hear all this information and then feel stuck. So how do you keep your child from getting hooked on this, or what do you need to do if they're already hooked? There is a difference between prevention and intervention. So prevention is what we do before, and intervention is how we support them if they're already using. So with prevention, we want to encourage you to seize the moment. So discuss your concerns about vaping. This is an ongoing conversation versus just like a one-time talk that you have with your kids. It's never too young to start this conversation, and the conversations can happen in the car, when you're driving to practice, at the dinner table, when you see ads or commercials. Just have these conversations casually throughout the day. You want to make sure that you're conversing rather than lecturing, and share information that you learn to educate your student by keeping it short and sweet. You also want to make sure that you're asking your student what they already know so that you're not repeating the same information. You can also support your child by doing role play refusal skills. So talking about, like, what would you do if someone asked you to vape? Like, what are some things you could say in response? Setting firm rules and expectations in your family. And then legislative advocacy. So the goal really is to stop the supply chain by advocating for new legislation, such as what Governor Newsom created with Senate Bill 39. You can advocate for new tobacco retail license ordinances that are going to prevent tobacco shops from selling to minors. So research online, how do I do some legislative advocacy when it comes to vaping? As far as intervention, you again want to talk to your student about their use. If you find paraphernalia, such as the things pictured in this image, talk to them about your concerns. Let them know that you're aware that they're vaping. And set boundaries. So for example, if you want to keep your cell phone that we pay for, there can't be vaping devices in the house. We need to know that you're not vaping. Point your student towards tobacco cessation resources, which we're going to talk about on the next slide. And again, continue to advocate on a legislative level to make it harder for minors to access vape products. There are a number of tobacco cessation resources for students if they're interested in decreasing their use or quitting. These are all listed on the PUSD social work website so that you can learn more. There's a number of free digital tools that are available to students. So This Is Quitting is an example of a mobile app designed by the Truth Initiative to help young people quit, and it has inspiration from others like them. There's also Become an X. This is a free digital quit smoking plan, and it was created by the Truth Initiative in collaboration with Mayo Clinic. So it helps you develop a quit plan, it offers texting support, an active online support community. And then we also have listed on our social work website, which is right here, bit.ly/PUSD social work, a nicotine anonymous group, and then a smoke-free teen website. So we hope that this training has been helpful for you, specifically when it comes to vaping. And we encourage you to educate yourself so that you can educate your student and continue to set boundaries in your home.